Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. Today I'm talking to you from the wonderful city of Pilsen, from the western part of the Czech Republic. I am taking a trip, I am on a trip at the moment again, to the east, to our eastern neighbor. I've been here a couple of times, but this is the first time that I'm actually in Pilsen. It's a very convenient destination from Germany because you can come here by car rather quickly. It is, as I said, in the western part, so it is a very convenient destination. So far, I like the city very much. I've been here for a little more than a day, and I've been to Prague a couple of times before, and I also drove through the country before. But I have to say, I probably will come to Pilsen again. It is a very beautiful city. It is, of course, much smaller than Prague, but I think it is the fourth largest city in the Czech Republic, so it is not tiny, but it is also, well, I would say it's a small town. But nevertheless, you find a lot of different attractions or worthwhile destinations here. For example, as you can see here on this little tent, you probably know the name of the city, Pilsen, from the iconic beer and the brewing method that that actually carries the name of the city, Pils or Pilsener. It was a brewing method of bottom fermentation that has been introduced here by a Bavarian brewmaster and the people of Pilsen, and the company Pilsener Urquell. They are still until this day conserving this old brewing method, and you can visit the brewery also if you're interested in modern production methods and some Czech history and craftsmanship, beer and beer brewing. I think Pilsener Urquell, the brewery, is a really nice destination. They have guided tours in several languages, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. You can visit the underground caverns that they use to store the beer because of the low temperatures that they have there. It was pretty impressive what they do here. As you can see already, I think the buildings are renovated rather well. You can see very, very beautiful churches and buildings with the facades that I would say, if I had to guess, I'm not an expert, but looks like 19th century to me. Very beautiful. In Prague you can actually see more of that, much more of that. When I was in Prague last time, I think I spent a whole day just taking pictures of beautiful buildings like these here. We don't have that in Germany so much anymore. They all fell victims to the destructions of the 20th century, but here you can see a lot of that stuff still pretty well maintained or restored again. And here I made my way from a little park now to the center of the city, the center of Old Town. That is the square of the Republic, and at its center you can see the cathedral, Saint Bartholomew, or Bartholomäus we say in Germany. Not so sure about the English name. And unfortunately this cathedral is closed at the moment due to renovations, but in 2020 it should be open to the public again. You can still climb the church tower, and I guess you have a very, very good view from there. Alright, so here at the end of this little street here, you can see, might zoom in here, see here the Star of David at the top of this tower. This is the great synagogue of Pilsen, one of the largest synagogues in Europe actually. So now you can see it from a little closer. Let me zoom out again. Yep. Now you see the building, the great synagogue. After the tribe had been expelled from this country, by the beginning of the 16th century, I think, they were allowed to come back here in the 19th century, around 1850, I think. And a couple of years later, they built this synagogue. It's very windy. I better get back here. I don't think you hear anything. And as you can see, it's still a very impressive building. It is still an active synagogue, and it is also basically serves as a exhibition center for the city of Pilsen and for all the people here. So you can visit it also. I guess it's a nice place to visit. The main attractions, I guess, are the synagogue, the cathedral, and the brewery, at least for me, I have to say. So let's go back to the center. So one thing maybe that is worth mentioning when I visited the synagogue, of course you have to wear a kippah that always fell off of my head. Maybe this is a sign from God that I shouldn't be wearing that thing, I don't know. But what I found so funny about this information booklet for the tourists is that, of course, the construction period of the synagogue was explained in great detail. And I've visited a lot of churches, but I never really saw that in any of the booklets that they give you, or these hand information material that they hand out, that the financing of the building is explained in such great detail. For example, they said that they had to take a loan of 100,000 gold pieces or something, and the interest for that loan was 4%. So they explained actually what the interest rate was that the Jewish community of Pilsen had to pay for the loan they took for the construction of the synagogue. Maybe this is their sense of humor that only they can pick on, I don't know. Or but that I found that very interesting, that the interest rate was mentioned in the handout. So as you can see, there are many pubs and restaurants here, of course, and you also find some places that have craft beers and more from smaller regional microbreweries, also some beer, but most of them, of course, offer the beer from the largest brewery here. That is, of course, Pilsener Urquell. It's actually, I like that beer very much. It has a malty caramel note. That is a beer I enjoy quite a bit. So now we are getting back to the central square where the cathedral stands. And I also have to say that food and drink and accommodation is quite affordable here in Pilsen. In the Czech Republic in general, you can go on a budget, I would say. But this is, again, considerably cheaper than Prague, for example. But you can enjoy the heavy, or actually wonderful, Czech cuisine just as well here. So lots of meat dishes, some variety of goulash, pork, and sausages with sauerkraut, and the Bohemian dumplings that they have here, these yeast dough dumplings, bread dumplings, and potato dumplings. I like that very much. Extremely yummy food. And it's also very safe and very family friendly here. You see a lot of German families actually going on trips or having vacations here. As you can imagine, our own country is not so safe anymore. And also from other countries, they are starting, people are really coming here. Having a vacation here is very popular because, as I said, it's not so expensive, very family friendly, easy to navigate, and very, very safe. Actually, you see mostly white people on the street, mostly European people, and of course Koreans, Chinese, and also some Japanese tourists can be met here. That is pretty much, that sums up the people that you see on the street. The Czech Republic, compared to other countries I've been to, is a little more traditionalist actually still, although they pride themselves to be the most atheist nation in Europe. I don't know if that's an official title, but I read that somewhere, that they say they are the most atheist country in Europe. So I guess many churches are empty. I've seen some services here that were really well frequented, but overall they say they're not very religious here. What I mean though by traditionalist is I noticed something. We went to many cafes, bars and restaurants because we want to sample the local food and try different beers. So we went to quite some restaurants and bars in the recent days, and I noticed something. I told it to my wife also. Whenever we're done and she goes to the restroom, the staff apparently notices precisely the moment when my wife goes to the restroom, and then they come to me and they ask me if I want to order more or pay. And of course, it is obvious that we are done eating, so of course I pay, because normally I would have to say I take turns with my wife, so I pay and she pays 50% of the time. And in this case, it just so happened that I paid like 4 times in a row. And because I don't want to send away the waitress again, then you have to just get her attention once more. And it's also more hassle for the staff, of course. So I just thought, what the hell, I just pay. And then my wife actually complained and she said, hey, it was my turn, why are you always paying? And then I told her that apparently, I mean, I don't know if that was just coincidence or if this is in fact a pattern, that the staff always waits and they really notice when she goes to the bathroom, and just a couple of seconds later they stand at our table and ask me if I want to pay. So we did it differently the next time. My wife actually waved over or got the attention of the staff, and then she said, I want to pay please. And then they fetched our bill, and they came back, and the waitress said to my wife, are you sure you want to pay? Isn't it your husband that is supposed to pay? And I think from that moment on we knew that it wasn't coincidence or something, that this is really a pattern here. So they still, and by the way, this never happened to me in Japan, this never happened to me in Germany. In Japan, I think it is because I'm a foreigner, and then the staff probably feels more comfortable talking to my wife, and they think that when they see a white guy that we're like poor language assistant teachers or something like that. So I think that fits the cliche, but here they really think that somehow I have the obligation to pay, and my wife cannot possibly pay for 2 beers or for a dinner. Yeah, so this is what I meant by more traditionalist. It is actually not traditionalist in a religious sense, but more in a gender role kind of sense. So yeah, this was, I found it rather funny. My wife was almost offended, but yeah, that's just her. Yeah. Okay, so this was a little story at the end about some cultural differences that still exist, of course, between our countries. So I don't know if that's a Pilsen thing or if it's a Czech Republic thing, but that was really, really obvious that they really think that the man should pay, and they're quite bewildered when a woman actually pays every now and then, or as in our case, half of the time. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this little tour in the morning around the city of Pilsen in the western part of the Czech Republic, in Bohemia, Böhmen. And now we will soon start making our way to the capital, to Prague once more. And I hope the weather holds. Looks pretty nice at the moment. Yesterday we had some rain. Stay safe wherever you are. Servus, Kameraden.